The Outlast series has never shied away from being outrageous, and the Outlast Trials is no different. Taking the tried and tested single-player horror rollercoaster recipe to a co-optional format is a risky concept on paper, but the team at Red Barrels seems to have pulled it off. Despite now having the company of friends while fleeing down damp and dingy corridors, the Outlast Trials remains one of the most disquieting and harrowing gaming experiences we've had the displeasure of trying for quite some time. If you've ever had a passing interest in the lore of the world behind Outlast, then you'll likely love everything that the Outlast Trials has to throw at you. It depicts the preceding events of the Murkoff Corporation stealing vulnerable people from the streets and utilising them in grotesque experiments inspired by MKUltra. You play as one of those poor souls, stolen away and thrown into a series of ungodly circuits, all lined with their own unique objectives. These objectives can be anything from pushing a cart down a track, turning a series of valves, or finding the right combination of keys for a specific door. And, as is par for the course for these kinds of games, all these tasks must be completed while evading the multitude of enemy types that the Outlast Trials attempts to hunt you down with, all of which have various favoured methods of gruesomely taking you out and require a different approach to evade. Your typical grunts aren't too tricky to avoid, but variants like night hunters are permanently equipped with night vision goggles, which means they can see you crystal clear in the dark but become incapacitated in the light. Combine that with pouncers that hide in the spots you'd usually hide in for refuge, and the many more enemy types only contribute to the feeling of unsafe paranoia that's impossible to escape in this game. If there's one thing the Outlast Trials has absolutely nailed, it's the atmosphere. Equipped with the latest ray tracing rendering technologies, the horrifically dark and grimy environments make you feel physically ill while traversing them. Between the abandoned police station, theme park, and orphanage, players exist in a heightened version of reality. Looking up, you can see it's all situated in a massive hangar with scientists patrolling the gantries above, taking notes on you all the while. That said, the most unsettling aspect of the Outlast Trials is its gratuitous use of body horror. Not 2 minutes into the first cutscene, and you're already witnessing human bodies being mutilated to the nth degree. All test subjects are fitted with a night vision headset, which is screwed into their skulls permanently, and you'd better believe that you have to sit through that fitting in full, all from a first-person perspective. Even wandering the corridors of the trials, there's no escape from the grim violence that pursues you. Enemies will drill through your hands in a heartbeat, and dismembered corpses are popular interior design choices in these parts. There are also some missions that require you to dig your hands into the cavities of dead bodies, just in case you were finding the experience a little too relaxing without burying your hands into corpses. While the first two Outlast games were terrifying in their own right, they were also incredibly linear and often repetitive. And this has been somewhat rectified in the Outlast Trials by randomising many of the objectives you're tasked to complete. Even if you fail one of these trials, restarting it will scramble the locations of objectives, which means there's no way to cheese your way through the challenges, forcing you to face your fears head on. And it does the game a world of good for replayability, especially if you want to mix it up between playing solo or with a squad. And speaking of friends, by adding a multiplayer component to the Outlast formula, there was a worry that it could drastically reduce the fear factor. But while it's definitely more of a laugh with your mates, the adrenaline you feel while legging it from a pursuer is far from reduced. In fact, playing alongside friends actually makes plenty of objectives way more difficult, as communication and coordination become far more critical to success. Outside of the trials, there's a hub area known as the Sleep Room. This serves as a pseudo-multiplayer lobby, allowing players to customise both their character and cell decoration, as well as upgrade their abilities and perks. Classes in this game are known as rigs and provide the player with unique abilities that may help them during their missions. Seeing through walls, stunning enemies, or giving out heals to teammates are all options here. There are also prescriptions, which let players upgrade their character more incrementally. And trust me, having the ability to slide and regen health more quickly makes a world of difference in a life or death situation. So, prescriptions. With most of its particularly menacing characters represented as mental asylum patients. This portrayal becomes especially problematic when upgrades are called prescriptions and the leveling system is titled therapy level. While most of what this game, or really the entire Outlast series, has to offer strains the boundary of what's offensive, trivializations like this certainly start to cross the line. At a time when mental illness still bears a sizable and unwarranted stigma, the Outlast Trials mostly serves to further demonize and reinforce these negative stereotypes, which is far from ideal and quite disappointing, and just shows how far depictions of mental health in games still have to go. Set to launch in early access, the Outlast Trials is intended as a proof of concept for this new multiplayer horror formula. In an interview with the dev team, it was clear they certainly aren't short of ideas to implement into the trials. And as such, it's obvious that the intention is to support this title with live service elements such as new trials, new locations, and new rigs added over time. So this really is just the beginning. From our brief time with it, the proof is certainly there for the Outlast Trials. If you're a fan of games like Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th, and you're looking for something with a bit more edge, this is what you need to play for something a bit more hardcore. Just so I didn't warn you about how horrifyingly grisly Red Barrel's latest creation truly is. Have you been playing the Outlast Trials? Let us know how you found it down in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more of our content like this, and check out these videos to see more of what we like to do here at GG Recon.